and welcome to God's Hookups television show. This is Dr. Barbara Young, your host, and this is a show that features up close and personal interviews with guests from all walks of life who share their stories about unexplainable blessings, successful events, and extraordinary miracles and encounters that can only be of God's hookup. You will receive hope, enlightenment, encouragement that will feed your spirit and your soul. Now, to my guest today. Hello, Jeff Griffin. Welcome to God's Hookups. I'm so excited. I got to contain myself. Dr. B, I got to contain myself. I have the awesome Jeff Griffin on the show today. He's Jeff Griffin, but his friends call him Griff. And after today, I pray I'm going to be one of those to call him Griff. He's currently in a wheelchair, but not forever. You know, this man has done so much. It's incredible for me to even try to share some of the things he's done. But with an accident that left him paralyzed from the waist down, he never accepted defeat. During those dark days, he had a lot of decisions to make, and he made some great decisions. He could either stay down, or he could quit, or he'd get back and get up and succeed. And he chose the latter. His dream, as we were talking in the green room, really, and his desire is to help individuals lighten their loads and lift their spirits and love them. So to my viewers out there, I present to you Mr. Jeff Griffin, otherwise Griff. Hi there, how are you?
Hey, Dr. B, thank you so much for letting me be a part of you and your journey and your viewers' journey. And so, you know what? This is a G here. Griff loves you.
Thank you. I love you too. If I could make a B, but I can do like this.
There you go. Absolutely. Hopefully nobody's like think we're flashing signs and all that stuff.
I'm so happy to have you on the show today. You know, you during your career, one of the things I noted about you is that you've been able to keep your humor and your sense of style. And look at you now with all those beautiful teeth and smiling. And Jeff, that is just admirable. And I'm sure people are drawn to you by your infectious ability to remain enthusiastic and smiling.
Oh.
So tell me, how do you do this every day? Because I know you're on every day.
Well, thank you for the compliment, but I'm just telling you right now that looks aren't everything, right? You know, you said I was funny, but looks aren't everything, funny looking, but completely joking about that. What I do love to do though, Dr. B, when I come rolling on stage, because a lot of people know me as a motivational speaker.
Yes.
But as your title is, and what I completely 100% agree and believe in, is that I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a transformational speaker. And that's what has to happen here is there's got to be that transformation, because if you're just inspired, if you're just like, you know, something ignites inside you, but you do nothing, then it's as if it's as good as if you were when you began.
You know, I just want to share this little bit, because I started out as a motivational speaker and the Lord said, no, you're not motivating people because they get goosebumps, but they make no changes. Then he said, you're a life empowerment speaker. And so then I became life, because he said, you're speaking life. But then after a few years, he changed and he says, you're a transformation expert. You're the go-to influencer to talk to people. Now I'm able to bring people like you and others to share how people can transform their lives. So Jeff, you're on to share your God's Hookup story today.
I am on. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate that. And one thing I want to give to your listeners right now is what I believe is one of the most impactful things in the world. And that's, I call it the possibility principle.
I love it.
It's the possibility principle. In fact, that possibility principle creates a P squared mindset, as I call it, right? Because you got possibility principle, you got two P's. It is the P squared mindset. And what this P squared mindset does for us, does for you, and does for your listeners, and this is what I want to give them, right? And what it does is it helps you take your desire and match it up with your dream. Because if your desire does not match up with your dream, you're not going to be able to experience that unimaginable possibility to create. And we all have conflicting desires. You know we do, right? You're like, hey, I want to be the best person ever, but I'm just going to watch TV. I'm going to learn about being best.
Right.
Or I want to get good grades, but I want to play on the weekends. Or I want to get in shape, but I want to drink my Big Gulp and eat my Twinkie. And so we've got to understand that this desire needs to match up with our dream. And then when that happens and we add it with emotion, then we begin to experience the floodgates opening up. Then we begin to experience life when we see it in color. It's no longer in grayscale. It's no longer in black and white. It is in color.
Yes, yes.
And so that's just the first part of this P squared mindset, the possibility principle. And so another thing that comes with this possibility principle is, let me just ask you this, Dr. B. When you talk to people and you speak to a lot of people, when you ask them what the opposite of success is, what do they say?
Failure.
Mm-hmm.
No, I know of. They don't say missed opportunities. Or I wasn't prepared. I get
failure. Right. And so you're like,
successful, I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, well, wait a minute. No. Because our society has taught us and everyone that success, the opposite of success is failure. But I've never met anybody who hasn't failed their way to success.
That's right. Absolutely.
And so the P squared mindset teaches you and gives you permission to say, you know what? Give yourself permission to fail, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit. And so, again, we got to get to a certain point where we can't lean on that all the time, where it's got to be, listen, I get it. I'm going to fail at first. I'm going to fail again. I'm going to fail again. But eventually, I've got to get to the point where I am going to be successful. And people can predict on my reliability and my accountability. And I've learned to find the simplicity on the far side of complexity. That I've learned to make sure that it happens every time I say it's going to happen.
I have a question for you, though.
Please.
Now, knowing your story and knowing a little bit more about you, I'm intrigued, because when I prefaced and introduced you, I said, Tim Griff is in a wheelchair, but not forever.
Yeah.
And one of the things that my intriguing question was, here you are in the prime of your life. You're dreaming of playing sports as a kid. I mean, that's your dream, and being on the big stage. You envisioned, that was your dream, of being a college receiver on a football team. Mm-hmm. And you were one step closer to fulfilling your dream.
Yeah.
You had this drastic accident that happened to you, that left you broken and paralyzed from the waist down. How did you view our Father, I am, at that time? Were you angry? Were you mad at him? Were you bitter? What happened? I'm just intrigued to know.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm gonna jump into that right now. But I just want to let your listeners get this possibility principle. Yes. If they'll text the word possible, POSSIBLE, and I'm sure you can throw it on there, to my cell phone, which is 801-316-8689. Okay. That's 316-8689, area code 801. Text the word possible. I'll send you this possibility principle, because you asked the question. Because I had these dreams. I had these big dreams to play college football. And everyone kept on telling me, like, Griff, you can't play football in college. And they gave me all the reasons why I couldn't. They're like, you're too short, you're too slow, you're too white. I'm like, okay, I get that.
Text, give me that. I'm writing it, possible.
Yeah. So text possible, 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 at 801-316-8689. And I just shared the top two that come with it. There's 5 things that come with this possibility principle, this P squared mindset. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because that is the very thing that helped me get back up. And I was chasing down my dream of playing football in college, and everyone's gave me all these reasons why I couldn't. And what I've learned, Dr. B, is most people, if not the majority, base our possibilities on their limitations.
Right.
And so here's the paradox. The problem is that other people are basing our possibilities on their limitations. They're telling us all the things that we can't. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do that.
Right.
The word I can't is poisonous. It's limiting. It's debilitating. Eliminate that from your vocabulary. And so I tried to implement these things along the way to where I was trying to achieve my dream of playing football in college. I didn't realize it at the time. I was too young to know these things and didn't know these concepts, that we reject what we don't understand, and we base our possibilities on what we know. Right. But I had a song in my soul, and that was to play football. That was my dream, and I went and chased after it, and I was able to taste the sweetness of success and play 2 downs. And after tasting the sweetness of success, I got to experience what it'd be like to be on the first team, not just the scrub team, and not just on the sideline, not just in the stadium, but the first team. And God's hookup, I love that because, you know, God wants us to play the game of life, not just be in the stadium, not just to have a jersey on our back, but he wants us to play the game of life. And once we do that, and once we're completely committed and we're all in, we get to hear things and smell things and see things and taste things that we've never tasted and seen and heard before. And so I was developing these things and developing this P squared mindset. And then in between seasons, I was starting my own business because I don't care what they tell you. They don't pay enough money to play football in college. And so I'm like, what can I do? So I started my own business. I was starting my own business as a painter, not of pictures, but of buildings. And I got a phone call from Napoleon Dynamite country. I live in northern Utah. This is in Preston, Idaho. And I got a phone call to go do this bid on this barn. 3 days later, $3,000 richer, I'd have enough money to go play football and focus on that, and also purchase a bullet bike. So because every time I saw a guy on a bullet bike, there was a girl on back, and I'm like, maybe in the small print it says girls included. And somebody's like, Griff, you really don't want a bullet bike. You just want the ladies. And I'm like, you're right. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I think the chicks dig the wheels. It wasn't until I got in a wheelchair, Dr. B, that I realized that the chicks dig the wheels. And it's great. I'm telling you, that's how I roll. But you asked about my attitude. You asked about where was I when this accident happened.
Yeah, with God. I mean, did you get mad?
Because here's the deal. I wasn't always this positive, and I wasn't always this hopeful. And when I went to the job site, I was up 40 feet on some scaffolding. I cut some corners. I learned for myself that when we cut corners, it leads nowhere but down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And if our foundation is created and it's built on a sandy foundation, we're going to fall. And unless we build it on a solid foundation, the rock,
yep,
then we can do all things.
Through him.
And so the scaffolding slipped out from underneath me. I fell 40 feet, stuck the landing perfect. Legs came up, my back came down, and my L1 vertebrae exploded inside me. My dreams of playing football shattered. My dreams of riding a motorcycle with a lady on back, done. I'd fallen 40 feet. My dreams of playing football shattered with me. Here I am lying on my back next to the barn, wondering, what now? Because what now? Because how do we deal with major challenges and difficult setbacks? That's the real question, because when the pressure is applied, what comes out? I love the law of the harvest. You plant a potato, you get a potato. You plant a pineapple, you get a pineapple. And if you apply pressure to a fruit, juice comes out. But what kind of juice comes out? If I apply pressure to an apple, apple juice comes out. If I apply pressure to a pineapple, pineapple juice comes out. But if I apply pressure to a human being, we are one of the fewest creations that I know of that are not true to our nature. Because when we apply pressure to a human being, what comes out is what we've put in. And if we're not putting in the good, we're not getting out the good. And this pandemic and this challenge that we've all been faced with worldwide has been applying the pressure. What's been coming out? Do you like what's been coming out? Because if you don't, you can change it. And the way you change it is by changing what you put in. And so you asked me what was happening at this time. I'm telling you right now, Dr. B, I wasn't putting in a ton of good at the time, but I was putting so much more than I was before. And I think that I had an experience before that happened 2 years prior that I'm not going to share with you right now, but I had an experience that happened 2 years prior that helped prepare me and prep me for this moment. But I'm telling you right now as well, and the listeners, I had a choice to make. I could sit down and stay down and wallow in that syrupy, sticky sun of self-pity, or I could get back up and dream new dreams. And to be honest with you, Dr. B, I went into that sauna and I was wallowing around and I was throwing sticky stuff to everybody who would come by. I shook my fist at God and saying, why me? I was feeling sorry for myself. Why now? I'm in the prime of my life. And there was a question that was asked to me that changed my life forever. And you can find out what this question is in my book called I'm Possible. Love to give your listeners that as well. If they go to my website, griffinmotivation.com, and they use the coupon code LOVE, I will throw you a little bit of love and knock off 50%.
I am possible.
Yes.
Desire, dream, and do.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, that's what the whole thing is about here, and what I discovered. And I'm not going to tell you what the question was because you don't have to go out and read it, but I am going to tell you who I received the question from, because that context will just blow your mind out. Because I was paralyzed. It took me half an hour to get out of my bed. They wouldn't feed me in bed anymore, so I had to get out to go eat. And I'm rolling down the hospital, tears just going down my cheeks. I'm in this sterile hall. My mind is like black and white. It's just as sterile. And I go into the lunchroom. I get my tray. I want to go as far away as I could possibly can from everybody. I'm flavoring my food with my tears, and this person sits down right in front of me, plops his food, and I wanted to reach up and just tell him to go take a hike. And use some words that I won't use here on your show.
Yeah.
I look at him, and he looks at me, and he asks a question that just changed my life forever. And I'm not going to tell you the question, but I am going to tell you, I found out who this person was. This person was lifting weights. He had an aneurysm. He was paralyzed from the right side of his body. He couldn't speak. And so in his slurred speech, he asked me this question that changed my life forever. That I'm not going to tell you. What's that?
What are you going to do with your life now?
I love that, man. That's super, super close, but I'm not going to tell you what it was. But this person who asked me the question happened to be a prisoner at the point of the mountain that set me free from my prison.
Wow. He was a prisoner?
He was a prisoner. And he was lifting weights, had an aneurysm, paralyzed. He was going through therapy, and he asked me a question that changed my life forever. A prisoner who set me free from my prison. And really, that's where it all comes down to my book, I'm Possible, the Great I Am. How do you change the impossible into the possible without changing your circumstances? Because we all think our results are based on our circumstances. No. If you and I just include the great I am, all things become possible. And I've discovered that, and I've discovered that he can do so much more with my life, even if I can only use half my body.
Well, you know, I know that you played in the 2004 Paralympic Games.
Yeah.
In Athens, Greece. And you were silver medalist for the USA men's wheelchair basketball team. So, Griff, you're a national champion. You played for the Utah Wheeling Jazz, and you're a 4-time star All MVP. Let me tell you what God can do. You were #1 men's wheelchair tennis player. So you played basketball. You played tennis. What else? Racquetball? Did you take that one up?
I did not.
And you won the St. George's Marathon, and you're in 2 Guinness Book of World Records.
Yeah.
And your belief, I know, and I wish you'd share this again, because you believe that every one of us has the power and the ability and potential, more important, to achieve the impossible. And I cannot thank you enough, Griff. I'm going to say Griff because you are absolutely an incredible man.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking too, reflecting for my viewers, how God can use anyone to step into your life to change you around. A prisoner himself helps a young man break out of his prison.
Yeah.
I mean, that's powerful. That's powerful. I hope you put that man in your book some kind of way, you know, because he asked you the question. I'm sure he's in the book because maybe, you know, he asked you that question. And so for the listeners out there, Griff, would you just give a message to them in the last few minutes we have of this show? And then again, how to get your book, I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, and Do. I love it. Because right now, with the pandemic, and it looks like we're increasing, It's not diminishing.
No.
We're going over, this is Labor Day weekend, and I know people are wanting to be out there vacationing, and they are. So I'm driving and going places because they feel like this confinement. But I also know that you started a nonprofit called Road to Recovery.
Yeah.
You've done a lot. You talk about me doing a lot. You've done a lot. I mean, but busy is what we do because there's a lot of things to do to help the world. So I'm just going to put you on solo and just let you do your thing.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, again, the message, as I mentioned to you before, and as Dr. B mentioned, I am in a wheelchair. I've been paralyzed for 20 plus years. The doctors gave me a life sentence from a chair. They gave me a 0% chance of ever standing, walking, or moving my legs. They gave me a 0% chance of having kids. First function to go, last to come back. Some people gave me a 0% chance of getting married, not because of my wheelchair, but just because of who I am. My wife and I've been married 20 plus years. I don't know how I convinced her to say yes, but I do know how I convinced her to stay with me these last 20 years. And my wife and I have 4 beautiful biological kids. And I may be physically paralyzed, but I think most of us, if not all of us, are paralyzed from the demons of doubt, fear, and complacency. The future is based off of, the future is based off doubt and fear, doubt and faith. Sorry, excuse me. Both doubt and faith are based off the unknown, and the unknown is the future. And what's our future going to be? Well, that depends on you. Are you going to stay paralyzed and stay stuck on that circle of certainty, or are you going to take those steps into the darkness long before you ever know?
Right.
And I know that if you couple yourself with the great I am, if you couple yourself with God, with your creator, he can do so much more than we can on our own. My dream was to walk and stand again. The doctors gave me a 0% chance of ever doing that. And I want to end here because I know we've got to end here soon. But Dr. B, I told the doctor my dream. I wanted to walk again. He's like, Griff, it's impossible. And I love the quote from Muhammad Ali that says, impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. You guys have been 20 plus years. My dream is to walk again, to stand again. Everyone keeps on telling me it's impossible. You're delusional, Jeff. I just want to end with this.
Yay, yay, yay. Woohoo!
And so I want to end with this, if I can. Woo! What we do today on a regular basis, Dr. B, was once deemed impossible in the past. Madame Curie was told there's no more elements to be found, and she found 2 and a Nobel Prize. The Wright brothers were told that you can't control flight. We can get across the country in hours. What can we do? What have you been told that's impossible? But what we do today on a regular basis was once deemed impossible in the past. And so my question to you now is, are you ready to change your present to improve your future?
Yes.
And if you will couple yourself with the great I am, I'm telling you right now, that you can move mountains, that you can stand up, that you can attack these challenges, you can overcome these setbacks. And I have learned for myself that the Prince of Peace can bring happiness and can help you accomplish your dreams and desires, even while dealing with disappointment and discouragement. And I found that, and we can do that with his help. I found peace in the pain and in this journey. And I'm telling you right now, life is beautiful. And so thank you so much, Dr. B, for letting me come here and share just a few of my thoughts and just this idea of, you know what, God can do so much more.
Yes, he can.
With us.
Yes, he can.
We can do on our own.
Let him. We just allow him. And I will have to add a caveat to Griff's story because I know this, that he just wrote this book. This is another one of his greatest accomplishments because this young man in English was given a D- and told you'll never be able to write a coherent sentence.
Yeah.
And yet he has written a book. You see, there's nothing impossible with God. I don't want to cry because I know someone out there needs to hear this. You need Griff's story. You need to know that there's nothing impossible with God. And when he stood up, it was all I could do to not cry because I know the power of God and what he can do. And so just believe. And Jeff, Griff, I'm trying to not be emotional today because this has been an incredible experience. And I can't thank you enough for sharing with my viewers today. Gonna have you on another show. Gotta have you back on another show. We gotta round this out. So in the last few minutes, please, again, I'd like for you to tell the folks how they can get your book.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned before, if you go to griffinmotivation.com, it's Griffin like the mythical beast, half lion, half eagle. I like to think that I am a mythical beast. My wife's like, you're neither mythical nor a beast. And I'm like, so it's GRIFFIM. But if you go to griffinmotivation.com and you put in the coupon code LOVE, we'll send this
book in front of you. Hold that book in front so they can see. Hold it in front of you.
We will send you this. If you buy more than two, if you buy more than one, I should say, shipping is free. And the coupon code is 50% off. Still the deal right now. And so again, by the way, this took me 3 months to write, but 10 years to overcome that programming and all that pushback that you guys are all experiencing with your past and your programming. And so I want you to know that I understand. I understand how to get stuck, and I understand how to get unstuck, and I understand how to do it easier with the great I am than on your own. And so we've created a process, and we've discovered some flecks of gold that we've put into some gold nuggets that will help you become the world records, the world record leaders, the world record workers, the world record mom and dad, world record people that you truly desire to be.
Thank you so much, Griff. I got it now. I got it. I'm going to get that book too. You can be counting me in on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. B.
Well, thank you. And so I want to tell you guys that you receive any updates for all my live upcoming shows, subscribe to my YouTube channel at drbarbaradio@gmail.com. And for those of you, you can follow me on any of my radio and television shows on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Dr. Barbara Young. And let me remind you, those of you who'd like to be a guest on the show, contact me at drb@godshookups.com. And please share this show with your friends. Tell them it's encouraging. It will bring light and hope because we need it right now. So many of you out there. And we have a show every Friday for you. We have a guest, incredible stories at 11:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And today I am happy that we're closing out with my guest today, Griff. And thank you so much for listening, Griff. I love you. I'm going to be in touch because I got to get more stuff out of you.
I love you, Dr. B. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.